Hello and welcome to the swamp. My name is Dara Lady Gator Shanahan.
And my name's Emily Lady Frog Kevra.
And welcome to the swamp. The swamp is an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And today we tried to give ourselves nicknames based on the movie we're doing today, which is Lady Bird.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how successful we were with that, but I will say Lady Gator's kind of a baller nickname. If people could address me as Lady Gator, I'd be into it.
Change your Instagram handle to that.
Lady Gator. It's a good one. I might jot that down.
I feel like that's what they call, the Florida Gators, what is it, the sports team for one of the Florida colleges?
Like a women's basketball team called
it's the Lady Gators. Yeah, some shit like that.
Now I hate it. Okay. I take it back. Don't ever call me Lady Gator. But so this whole month we are going to cover the movies that you guys requested the most frequently. So we literally just picked the top numerically, the ones that most frequently came into our DMs through your suggestions. And last week we covered 50 Shades of Grey, so fuck y'all for that one.
I had a great time with it, honestly. I was a little mad about it, but not too mad.
And I'm not going to say I'm mad about this one either. I think Lady Bird, I'm excited to talk about it, especially because it's pretty recent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a movie that came out in 2017, so that was not too long ago.
No.
But yeah, a couple of y'all asked for us to cover Lady Bird, so this week that is what we will be doing. 2017 movie directed by Greta Gerwig, starring a ton of famous people, but most notably Saoirse Ronan plays the titular role of Lady Bird.
Yeah, and this was Greta Gerwig's debut as a director.
Yeah, directorial debut. I know she had done a lot of projects with people, but this
Noah
was her first
Baumbach.
by herself. Ew, Noah Baumbach. Disgusting. Anyways, now actually I don't have anything against that man. He just kind of skeeves me a little.
Yeah, the only thing you have against him is Marriage Story.
Not to expose your shit right now, Emily, but Emily is house sitting for a fucking professional athlete who has you just gave me a nice little house tour, and he has two dogs who are they Labradoodles?
I think so. I don't know. They seem bigger than Labradoodles.
Genetically modified. If you gave a Labradoodle HGH, that
Yeah, but
some fuck shit. Their eyes are a little too human for my comfort level.
But if you hear any panting in the background, just know I just have these two gorgeous dogs running around. They look a lot like the TikTok dog Bunny.
Yeah, who presses the buttons and says please help me escape from this prison. That is my own mind. They're aw, it's so cute, Bunny.
I'm just waiting for one to just start talking to me, because they pretty
oh my god.
They really, so what was it? You said that you heard someone call them humans in dog suits.
Yeah, they were oh, my conspiracy theory is all Labradoodles are just people wearing fursuits to pretend to be dogs.
Yeah.
I'm yeah, that checks out. But speaking of animals, in real time as we record today's the day, Henry and I got our cats. We got two cats from a local shelter here. Now that we have our own apartment that allows pets and all that jazz, we were really excited. So we haven't named them yet. So if any of you guys have good cat name suggestions, they're two black cats. They're a little shy. If that, I don't know, their personality, originally we were thinking of naming them, Colonel Cornbread, or, I don't know, something kind of aggressive. But I just am not getting that vibe quite yet.
No. You've got a good list of cat names, though.
We've been watching The Sopranos, and so I'm really leaning into Gabagool as a cat name. Call him Little Ghoul the cat. Come on, I don't know. I think it's good.
That'd be really cute.
But definitely, if my cat ends up with an Italian name, it's the fucking Sopranos' fault.
That makes sense.
Now I just talk in a thick Italian New Jersey accent all the time. I bought Gabagool. We keep it stocked in the fridge now because I can't not have it while I'm watching The Sopranos.
I've never had it. I don't even know what it is, really.
It's kind of I'm not going to say it's spicy, but it's has more heat to it than your average
meat sauce?
salami
Oh.
or No, gabagool is like, it's like a deli meat.
Oh, someone told me it was like a meat sauce the other day. I was like, I've been asking people. I'm like, what is it? What's gabagool?
I think it's spelt really weird. Like, it's not the thing you would think it is. It's like Capacollo. So it looks like it's Capicolo.
Yeah.
But it's because Italian people pronounce it so aggressively, like gabagool, gabagool.
Yeah.
They call it gabagool. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Anyways, I don't think they eat deli meat in this movie even once. So I think
No, I think the only thing that they really eat is the communion wafers.
they eat Thanksgiving. Right?
I mean, yeah,
I don't know if
I
we
guess.
see that. But so Lady Bird, I don't know, do we want to do a quick recap? Not a lot of shit actually happens in this movie. It's more about, like, the characters.
Yeah. The movie pretty much follows Saoirse Ronan, who plays Lady Bird. She is this 17-year-old girl living in... Where do they live?
Sacramento, California.
Which she says is an objectively boring place. But not to already get off track here, but one of the first lines she has in the movie is, I want to go somewhere where there's
Somewhere
culture.
where culture is like Connecticut.
And as someone who currently lives in Connecticut, she could not be more off base with this one. The only thing that is in Connecticut is, like, wealth disparity. Severe wealth disparity, and that's it.
Yeah, Lady Bird throughout this movie already seems to be struggling with, like, class. Like, you know, like, class amongst her peers and stuff. I do not think you want to go to fucking Connecticut, Lady Bird.
No.
But she says, so basically, like, she's arguing with her mom, which is... This entire movie is just a 17-year-old girl arguing with her mom. Mm-hmm. But she's saying that she wants to go to school on the East Coast, specifically New York City. That's like her dream place. But she's like, or at least somewhere else where there's culture, like Connecticut or New Hampshire, where writers are from. And I was just like, girl, what the fuck? I just love, though, that you could have totally swapped. Like, they could have been in Connecticut, and she could be saying the same thing about California. Like people from the East Coast being like, I want to go where the culture is, like LA or San Diego. Like, you could just pick any geographic place in America, and people just wish they were somewhere else. Yeah. So, I think, this movie would have made a lot more sense if she was from, like, Ohio.
I was gonna say the Midwest, but I think it was a lot from, because I know Greta Gerwig grew up in Sacramento, so it was definitely very much, I think, from her perspective a little bit.
Yeah, this whole movie is super autobiographical. She grew up in Sacramento. She went to a Catholic school, like an all girls Catholic school or whatever. Her mom was a psychiatric nurse, I believe. Like, it's literally like almost to a T. This was her experience, and the movie takes place in 2002, which is like also when
around the time
Greta Gerwig would have been that age. This movie takes place in between 2002 and 2003, and the number of 9/11 references, I think, just really makes sense, because if you're gonna have a movie take place in that time period, that's all people fucking talked about.
Yeah.
So I liked the accuracy with that one. You can't have a movie set in the early 2000s without 9/11 just like smeared all over it.
Exactly. But anyways, so pretty much Lady Bird is consistently fighting with her mom throughout the entire movie. She goes to a Catholic school. She has this best friend. She's played by Beanie Feldstein, but I don't know the friend's name. Julie. She has
they call her Jules sometimes.
Yeah. They have this best friend, Julie. And it's just takes place throughout her senior year of high school. So, like, she goes and she joins, like, the theater club at her school. She does that. She gets a boyfriend. Excuse you?
He's like, you're not recapping the movie quick enough. Come on.
She starts dating this boy from theater club, Lucas Hedges, who his name in the movie I think is Danny. They start dating. She finds out he's gay. She goes and sort of has this like personality switch where she wants to become friends with like the cooler kids almost.
Which obviously has to be Timothee Chalamet.
Yeah, of course.
A cool kid in a high school movie? Obviously Chalamet.
So she starts hanging out with like these more popular girls who aren't really her friends. And then pretty much towards the end of the movie, like when she's like going to prom with Timothee Chalamet, who she does pretty much like by the end of the movie, she like goes and she's like, okay, I'm done being fake. I want to go back and hang out with Jules again. And I want to kind of like be better with her family a little bit. But this
all comes kind of like nearing the end of her high school experience, so she's like kind of deciding where she wants to go to college.
Yeah.
She's kind of trying to like make amends with all of the, not necessarily the people she's wronged, but like Lady Bird is kind of a piece of fucking shit. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Lady Bird fucking sucks. And throughout the whole movie, I'm like, you deserve to get bullied. So
yeah, we'll get back to that because I have a lot to say about that. But pretty much what ends up happening is she had applied to go to school in New York, and she didn't think she was going to get in, and then she did end up getting in, and her mom's pissed about it because she kept it like a secret behind her mom's back. And the movie ends with pretty much her going to New York, and this is after her mom like had a breakdown and was like trying to like, not really a breakdown, but she realized, she's like, okay, like, I should forgive my daughter. Where am I going with this? I don't have, like, a clue.
Oh, and then she just goes to college, and then she's like, I'm in New York now. And then she calls her mom, and she's just like, you're right. I need to be a better person or some shit like that.
No,
basically, she's like, thanks her mom.
Thank you. She thanked her, yeah. Which I think is just...
she just kind of, like, makes amends with their, like, tumultuous relationship that they had.
Very turbulent relationship.
But, yeah, I would say the whole movie is just, like, about her relationship with her parents, her relationship with her friends, and then her relationship, like, with boys. Like, those are the big, like, marks that get hit. Mm-hmm. And so it's definitely between her and her mom have a very, like, rocky, like, they don't see eye to eye. The mom is kind of, like, tells it like it is, like, maybe not super, like, emotional or... like warm, like they have a discussion about it at one point. She's like, yeah, my mother is a warm person, and then Danny, the boyfriend, is like, your mother is not warm, like she's kind of scary. But yeah, so the mom is kind of like standoffish, kind of cold, and then the dad, she kind of confides in the dad a lot. So it's like very like different relationship with her two parents, and then she has these two boyfriends. The first one is gay, and the second one is Timothee Chalamet. So that obviously is just something. And then the friends, you know, going back between her best friend Jules to these like new fake friends, and then back to her friends. So it's all kind of just about her relationships with the people around her. And like her as a person, I don't know. I just think she kind of fucking sucks. Yeah. But I think that's the point. I think you're supposed to find her exasperating. Exactly. I don't think you're supposed to like her or like see, like, I don't think you're supposed to agree with her.
Well, that's the thing, is that I find that there are a lot of girls who, I don't want to say romanticize Lady Bird, but almost like, I feel like kind of look at her a bit like a role model sometimes, you know what I mean? And I'm like, Lady Bird is an awful character.
Yeah, if you see yourself like a lot in Lady Bird, you should take a step back. Like, call your mom. Yeah. If you see yourself a lot in Lady Bird, like, maybe go to therapy. I don't know.
Well, it's one of those things that I think this movie is one that you should certainly watch around that age, because this movie came out like
when we were seniors in high school.
When we were in seniors in high school. And so definitely watching it then, I think I don't want to say saw myself in Lady Bird, but I found like the situations more relatable and some of her actions a little more relatable. But now I'll watch it like every like year and a half to 2 years, and the farther away from it I get, the farther away from like understanding Lady Bird I get, and the closer I get to like understanding her mother. And, like, really, like...
Yes.
Especially, too, like...
You and I have talked about how, like, we feel like old, crotchety, like, old women. Because I'm like, I agree with Lady Bird's mom.
Oh, yeah.
Like, every time they fight, I'm like, you're right, girl. I'm like, you should bully your daughter. You should tell her that she's fucking annoying, because she is.
Well, it's also the thing, too, is, like, I think the older I get, the more I understand my own mom. Especially because I think... Because the character was definitely meant to be... I don't want to say broad enough, but like in the way that every girl would be able to see aspects of their mom and like their relationship with their mom in these characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will say, like, I think a lot of people's opinion of this movie depends a lot on how much they are able to see themselves in that character.
Yes,
so if you
100%.
are a young woman with any sort of like, I don't know. No, I wouldn't even say you have to have a difficult relationship with your mom, but just like any sort of element of that might speak to you.
Exactly.
This movie would immediately becomes that level of like relatable and stuff. And I just like, I don't know if having that kind of specific narrow of an audience is good because I don't relate to that. Like all of these, like I only ever saw the point of view of the mom. Like I don't know. Yeah, I think if you're making it so people can only, like, a lot of people who really like this movie a lot say it's because they see so much of themselves and their relationship with, mostly I would say the one with the mom. People don't really talk as much about the relationship with the friends and the boyfriends as much. I think the mother-daughter relationship is at the core of this movie.
100%.
Almost all of the reviews I've read of this movie that are like 5 stars, this is my favorite movie ever, are young women with like relationships like that to their moms. So I don't know what that says about this movie. And like you said, it is broad enough that I think enough people can project themselves onto it. But I never loved this movie. When it first came out, I remember I only saw it because it was nominated for an Oscar, and my mom and I do that. We see every nominated movie. And I remember putting it at about the middle of the pack as far as like how I would have ranked it just amongst the other Oscar nominees.
I mean, I definitely really enjoyed it. Like I said, the farther away I get from that age, I think the more like I can see like it's not as great of a movie as I thought it was, just because my relationship with my mom does not like quite mirror like what it did like then and now. Because it's like also one of those things like once you start like not living with your parents, you start to like almost like them more. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I love my mom, but you know what I mean? Because you don't have like that tension of living in a house together and like breathing down each other's necks all the time and everything like that. So I definitely, it's definitely gone down sort of in my ranking of movies as the years have gone on, but I think this is a great movie still, and I think that for Greta Gerwig's first, I think it's phenomenal. Like this, it's a great debut film. Yeah,
she totally proved her directing chops here because I think like so. As somebody who doesn't entirely, I can't necessarily project myself or my interpersonal relationships onto this character, so I don't really get that same sort of like I relate so much to this movie. I love this movie, whatever. I think it's like the little beats of the movie that really like still make it hold up for me. Like the dialogue, I think is incredibly funny.
Oh, I 100% agree with you there.
It's so fast paced, which I like. It takes over the course of a single year, and it feels like that, you know? Like you get like everything is like, okay, the next week. Like they never really sit on any one thing for too long, which I like. I usually hate like unnecessary romantic subplots in movies. That it didn't bother me in this one. Like I felt everything was done very intentionally, you know, 100%. Very, you know, with a purpose to make sense. A lot of it I didn't feel like was like throwaway stuff, which is what bothers me about a lot of movies. And I just think like all the little quirks of every character, and especially the writing, I think is really great. A lot of it is like I would say 1 in every 10 instances of this like kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but so it was still a 90% is passing. But like writing a movie dialogue in the way that people do not speak in real life, I think can work a lot, because you're watching a movie. You don't want it to be hyper realistic, especially when it's something as mundane as a high school senior story. Nothing exciting is gonna happen. There's no action. Nobody has a gun. Nobody like there's, you know what I mean? Like there's only so many places this can go.
I get it.
And it's within the realm of like reality, basically. There's nothing, there's no magic. There's no, a lot of things that make movies very enticing to me and like really draw me in are like why movies are very different from real life, and having this be such a like a true, this could just be a true story. This could be a literal autobiographical movie. But it's definitely like the little dialogue beats that I think are funny, and just like the way people talk to each other that's like kind of awkward and out of touch. But I will say every once in a while I'm like, oh, get your head out of your fucking ass. Nobody fucking talks like that. Like when Beanie Feldstein's character says some people just aren't born happy, or like whatever that fucking line is. I was like, shut the fuck up, Greta Gerwig. Shut the fuck up.
There was definitely, I totally agree with you there, but like, and especially about like, there's a couple of things that I'm like, oh my god, come on. But the little comments, like the sort of like the little comments like in the dialogue throughout the movie, like I wrote a couple of down. It's like that just really like kind of like I don't want to say
this movie's funny.
Yeah.
This movie makes me fucking
Exactly.
laugh. And it's not trying to be funny. It's not a comedy. There aren't big, like, punchline jokey moments.
Yeah.
But it's these little things people say that, like,
exactly.
make me crack the fuck up.
Like, I remember, what is it? There's one scene where they're, like, Lady Bird and Jules are, like, getting a math test back. And Lady Bird gets her back, and then she just flips over the paper and sees the grade, and she just whispers, "Suck a dick," or something like that. The other one that made me fucking cry was when it was like right after her and her gay boyfriend Danny, who she doesn't know is gay yet, were having like this little moment under the stars or whatever, and she was like, "You can touch my boobs, you know," and he was like, "I respect you too much to touch your boobs." Yeah. But, like...
yeah, he was like, "I respect you and I love you." And she was like, "Oh, I love you too." But it was,
like,
yeah, I totally agree. That scene is so, like, "I respect you too much to touch your boobs. Also, I'm gay."
My favorite thing about that is, like, the beat after that, it, like, switches to, like, her and Jules, like, walking through school or whatever, and you just hear the end of a conversation, and she's like, "Yeah, it's totally normal to not touch a penis." Like, trying to rationalize with herself.
So I can't say the things I would change about this movie because I'm not a director. I'm not a writer. I couldn't have written this movie. Like, I'm not claiming to have any sort of intellectual insight into the workings of Hollywood. But if I were to change some things about this movie, I do think the boy she kind of hooks up with in college at the very end of the movie, if it could have been a little gay realization for Lady Bird, I would have liked that, because it is very, like, these two relationships she has in high school are so unfortunate for her and for them. Like, the first boy is gay, and the second boy is one of those, like, she idolizes him and thinks he's so cool, and he only kind of half gives her the time of day.
Yeah.
And, like, she thinks that they're boyfriend-girlfriend, and he doesn't really see it as the same type of thing, which I think is probably relatable to a lot of people, you know, for, like, when they're young, having, like, you know, weird relationships like that where you don't really communicate very well because you're 17. Yeah. But I'm just like, clearly you and Jules should just be gay together. I'm like, or even her and the hot friend, what was her name? I don't even remember. But
yeah, I couldn't say.
I just think Lady Bird, picture that girl. Lady Bird is an elevated version of that girl, but you know some people like that. Like, she's got the pink hair, she's kind of rebellious, she's loud.
She calls herself Lady Bird. Come on.
Yeah, like, very performative, wants a lot of attention, but also when she gets the attention, she's like, "Oh, tee-hee-hee, no."
Yeah.
Like, very that. Tell me that girl isn't at least bisexual.
Her sophomore year of college, she's gonna have a realization. She's gonna have that aha moment.
I hope that for Lady Bird, because I would have liked, I don't know, a little gay realization at the end of this movie. I think that would have tied a lot of things together, like, that you realize, like, that are happening throughout the movie that kind of could have, I don't know. Maybe
it was too, like, all, like, autobiographical for Greta Gerwig, and she was like, "No, I can't.
Yeah, that is true.
But no, I agree with you there. It would have been just, like, a nice, like, cherry on top.
Because also, she's just so fucking boring. She's like, I'm gonna say, the whole movie is her basically being upset with her parents because of their economic situation. They live in Sacramento, California, which to my knowledge is kind of a wealthy area. Or at least has, you know, a decent amount of wealth around. And, you know, she doesn't feel like she, you know, has the same economic situation as a lot of her peers. Like, she thinks she's poor. She says she lives on the wrong side of the tracks. And she kind of resents her parents for that. Like, they both have jobs.
I'm sorry.
Like, they both have jobs. They have a house. I'm like, you're not poor.
What a
like, trying to pass
dude.
off. Well, she's a bitch. But also, if this movie was actually about poor people, if she was actually poor in the grand scheme of things and was kind of grappling with that, I think that would have added a lot of more dynamicism.
I mean, I think that's.
We're supposed to disagree.
Exactly. That's the point the movie is trying to make.
You're supposed to be like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, fuck off. Appreciate your parents. Like, they're doing the most.
Yeah, no, the fact that she literally, like, that is such a big middle finger to her parents to, like, go to this school that they cannot afford whatsoever. Like, you see, there's one scene where they're like at the bank, her and her dad, and he's like, yeah, so if we refinance the house, and with
like with your financial aid, plus
aid,
if we remortgage our house, maybe you can go to this college.
Like,
and
Jesus.
I'm like, oh my.
Like, her dad has been unemployed, and they're still like, come on, Lady Bird. Like, I would like to think that at least when I was 17 in high school, I had a bit more awareness than she did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess again, we're not supposed to really like agree with her or like her, which I do respect. I respect having a character at the front of your film that isn't like golden, you know. When people would criticize this movie and say like, oh, I didn't like this movie because I didn't like Lady Bird, you're not fucking supposed to. Like, if that's your criticism of the movie, then you're just not
watching the movie right,
engaging. Yeah, you're just not engaging with the film.
Like, and like, it's not my place to like tell someone to like how to watch a movie, but like, okay, come on. Like, that's literally the whole point. You're missing the entire point.
Like, it's like people who don't like Anakin in Star Wars.
You're not supposed to.
Yeah, he's literally Hitler. You're not supposed to like him or agree with him. That's kind of the point. If you don't like Anakin, you're making the right judgment. Yeah. Lady Bird is kind of an Anakin Skywalker, huh? She's totally gonna turn into like a turfy feminist if like a Lady Bird sequel where she becomes like a gaslight gatekeep girl boss type feminist would totally be her Darth Vader
Oh my
story.
God. You're so right.
Like, she starts a nonprofit to help inner city girls get education, but she doesn't hire any black people. Yep. Like, that kind of vibe that I'm getting. Like, she has Black Lives Matter in her Instagram bio, but she, like, you know, crosses the street.
Would you say she's Would you say she's more like Anakin in that way then, or would you say she's like Padme in that way?
Oh my God. No, Padme is trying her best. Padme is just
Lady Bird is.
We're not getting back into this because people tore our shit up for talking shit about Padme on the pod. If people come after us for Lady Bird slander, I will literally retire. I'm fucking hashtag Team Lady Bird's mom.
Yeah, 100%.
Every fight they had, I was just like,
I get
girl.
it. I get
You're
it.
right.
Like,
but I guess I also never had a mom who ever was mean to me. You know what I mean? Jen is an angel. Yeah. And like I never had to deal with, because like I've definitely had friends and people who definitely like have that sort of conflict with their parent, and Jen has always been my friend. Like, she's been my mom and she's been my friend my whole life. Like you said, like after you move out and you can kind of like more have that like adult friendship relationship with your parents because they're not in charge of like making sure you don't die anymore, kind of thing. Like Jen and I have always had that, which is why nice. I don't think I can relate at all to this. Yeah, which is like, I guess, good for me. Yeah. Right? But
yeah, no, there's definitely like just enough things about like this that I can't say that I can't relate to this at all, because I definitely can. Like Jean's a nurse, and she's
oh my God, true.
She definitely had that sort of like stressed energy about her that like, especially just when we were younger, because you're raising like 3 kids at the same time and working like a full-time job and everything like that cannot be easy. Yeah, no, I'd say you're in the minority on this one though. I feel like a lot of people love this movie because of the relationship aspect of it.
Yeah, I didn't mean to flex so hard. Sorry, I have such a great and healthy relationship with my mother.
Sorry, I'm just dunking on all of you because me and my mom are so fucking tight.
But honestly, I feel like every other character in this movie is infinitely more interesting than Lady Bird.
I want to know more about the theater priest.
I literally, where is my depressed priest film? I want it to be about him. I want it to be about Beanie. Yep. Even, what's her, Jules? I would rather have the movie be about Jules, about, almost any other side character in this movie. Lady Bird's older brother, way more interesting of a dynamic going on there. Like, she's quite literally the most uninteresting character in this entire movie, which I guess is good, because then at least you're always paying attention to the other shit that's going on.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, there's that one scene where they're like doing sort of like icebreakers for like theater club.
Oh my god, he's like, who can cry first?
That one sends me into a tailspin.
I'm obsessed with it. So I do feel like, though, that one of the merits of this movie is I think every time I watch it, I pick up a little something that I maybe didn't get the first time. So I saw this in theaters in 2017 when it came out, and I think since then, up until now, I've seen it more than 5, less than 10 times.
I'd say this is...
So, like, I'd put it at a 7. You know, I've watched this movie about 7 times, and I would say
Wow.
I got something out of it that I didn't realize before almost every time. Because it is that, like, fast-paced, those, like, dialogue points that maybe, if you're not entirely paying attention, you might, like, kind of gloss over something. And, yeah, I definitely think that's an aspect to this film that I definitely enjoy. Because that priest character, so this time around, I definitely realized more about his situation. So he's like, oh, who can cry first? And he starts sobbing, which is obviously a really, like, funny and ridiculous moment. But then later they're talking about his son. They're like, all kind of gossiping. Fucking Austin and Allie is there.
Yeah.
The girl from fucking Disney Channel original Austin and Allie, she's just, like, one of the theater girls, which I was like, okay, bold casting choice. As if we wouldn't all recognize her, but okay. But they're all, like, outside and they're talking. They're like, oh, yeah, like, his son died of a heroin overdose, but that's basically suicide, because if you're making choices like that, you are, like, killing yourself or whatever. So I guess he has, like, a dead son, and then he, at one point, is at the hospital talking to Lady Bird's mom
His
about,
mental
like,
health.
his depression and his mental health, and he's like, oh, like, you won't tell your daughter, right? And she's
No.
like, obviously fucking not. That's HIPAA. Like, do you know what HIPAA is? But then later in the film, too, we see he doesn't direct, like, the spring play. They have the football coach come in and do it. So I think, like, that whole, like, underlying, like, that B-plot sort of storyline, like, I'm like, I want to know more, like, about that. I don't give a shit what college Lady Bird's going to. Tell me about the depressed
like,
priest. Is he okay?
Even Timothee Chalamet's character, Kyle, I want to know why he is the way he is. Because, I mean, his dad's got cancer, but there's more to it.
The government gave, I think his name is, like, Kyle
I don't know.
His name is Kyle in the movie.
Which makes sense.
But he's totally, like, he is in the same way that Lady Bird is sort of that elevated, exaggerated version of kind of that girl we all know. We all know a guy who's fucking like that conspiracy theory ass fucking, I think I'm better than other people because I read books and I don't have social media, like, type energy. I mean, I know this was 2002, but he's like, oh, cell phones are tracking devices and they're evil. And then when they're going to the prom, he's using a cell phone.
I literally...
Like, so he's such a poser. He's such like a dick. He is like that asshole who, like, he kind of lies to her and manipulates her.
He rolls his own cigarettes. Because he's trying not to participate in, like, capitalism or some shit like that.
Oh my god, one of the best lines in this movie is he's like, oh, like, I've given up money, I just barter now. That one kills me. Yeah, his character, he's such, like, a poser, a dickwad, like, totally that guy who, like he has to hype himself up and put down everyone else by doing something. So he's like, yeah, like, I hand roll my cigarettes because all other cigarettes are trash, and you're trash if you smoke them. And Lady Bird's like,
she's like, sorry,
okay,
I smoke cloves. Like, which
sorry, I'm 17.
Which she's also that's the other thing, too, is Lady Bird is a total poser.
Yeah, they're kind of perfect for each other in that way.
Yeah, no. My favorite interaction between those two, though, was there's this one scene where Lady Bird finally decides she's finally ready to have sex for the first time or whatever. And she finds out later, because he is a manipulative asshole, he wasn't a virgin. Because she was sitting there, she's like, we deflowered each other, we have each other's flowers. And he's like...
See, I was gonna say, this is one of the situations where I'm like, she kind of deserved to get bullied here, because she's here, she's like, you and I have deflowered each other, we have each other's flowers, and I'm like, oh, like, again, I know she's 17 and we're not supposed to like her, but I'm like, oh, you kind of deserve what's coming, because, like,
if you go into...
cringe. Lady Bird is so cringe, that's the one word I would
super
describe.
Cringe, but,
like,
what I was gonna say is there's this one line, because she finds out that he wasn't actually a virgin or whatever. And then she looks at him, he's like, why are you getting mad about this? This is so stupid. And she was like, I was on top. Who the fuck is on top for their first time?
Yeah, that line is hilarious, but what I like even more is that he follows it up. No, but he's like, oh, you're gonna have so much unspecial sex in your life.
Which is a
like,
great
why does
point,
this matter?
which is
And
so true.
She's like getting upset. She's like, you told me you're a virgin. He's like, I don't really remember doing that. They're having this back and forth, and he's like, oh, why does it matter? You're gonna have so much unspecial sex in your life. And that's when she is like, I was on top. Who the fuck is on top their first time? And then he immediately clips back with, he's like, do you know how many civilians have died since the beginning of the invasion in Iraq?
She's like, not everything is war.
Just like, deflecting. Yeah, he's like, you know how many people are dead in Iraq? And I'm like, you know what, Kyle? Great point.
He's a master deflector.
In the grand scheme of things, having to be on top when you lose your virginity maybe isn't the worst thing in the world. But
she says, other things can be sad too.
Which is also valid. I always hate that whenever, like, you're upset and people are like, well, there are starving children in Africa. And I'm like, that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to be upset.
Exactly. That scene was very funny, though, because literally, like, lasts about, like, 5 seconds or whatever, and he just brings his arms out like he's meditating almost. I was like, okay.
His character... I think this, like, was a really interesting year because this is the same year that Call Me By Your Name came out, so this was up for an Oscar
two very different characters for him.
Right, which I think, like,
Elio,
as far as his, like...
Elio is the Lady Bird of Call Me By Your Name. 100%. Oh my god, he's so clingy and obnoxious.
He and Armie Hammer actually, they did that same dialogue in Call Me By Your Name, just role reversal.
I was on top. Oh my god.
I was really interesting to see kind of, this was his, like, kind of blossoming year where he kind of became at the forefront of Hollywood as, like, a rising star.
He took it by storm.
Actor. And yeah, definitely seeing him in this and in Call Me By Your Name almost back to back was, like, very impressive.
Oh, 100%.
In my opinion. Mm-hmm. I also think as far as impressive young actors, Lucas Hedges, another, like, considered to be, like, big rising star energy. I think they saw him in this as a closeted gay, and they were like, oh, what if we put him in conversion therapy?
Oh my god.
His dad's gonna be a priest, his dad's gonna be Russell Crowe, and we're gonna put him in conversion therapy. Nicole Kidman's gonna be there, she's gonna wear a wig.
I was gonna bring this up, because in my head, this and that movie Boy Erased are in the same timeline.
Yeah, right, they take place in the same universe. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. Like, he was sitting there and, like, telling Lady Bird, he's like, you can't tell anyone, please. Like, it'll be so bad for me, da-da-da-da-da.
And she tells everyone, and then he gets sent to conversion therapy, and that'd be sad. I will say, though, that I think that was, like, the one redeeming moment for Lady Bird for me as a character. Like, she's kind of a piece of shit, and she only is ever really thinking of herself. Like, how is this thing that I'm doing going to come off to other people? How do I impress people? How do I make myself look good? She never thinks about, like, putting down other people because she's just she's very self-centered.
Gerwig did do a good job in, like, embodying that high school mentality with that, though, I will say. Because, I mean, not to say everyone is as extreme as Lady Bird. No, hardly anyone I've ever met is so extreme as Lady Bird in that way. But it's definitely, like, you're very self-centered in high school. Yeah,
because I think you're going through those formative development years where you're changing a lot and you have to think about yourself kind of a lot. So
you're very much thinking about how you come off and everything like that. You know what I mean? You're so like feeling you're so
awkward.
Worried about what people think of you.
But I will say that this was, like, the one kind of really good redeeming moment for her that I had when I really I liked her character. I like how she acted. Was when he comes to visit her at the cafe where she works, and she's like fuck off, like, I don't want to talk to you. And he's like, I just, like, am really trying to figure my shit out. I haven't told my parents, I haven't told anyone, like, you're basically one of the only people who knows, like, I just want to make sure you don't out me, basically. And she, like, really flips the script really fast, because up until that point she had been, like, pissed at him, she was ignoring him, she was being kind of a dick, and she, like, really flips the script, and she immediately empathizes with him and is like, of course I won't tell anyone, like, your secret is safe with me, like, you like this, I can tell this is something difficult you're going through. And she sticks by her word. She does. It never comes up again in the movie. She never tells anyone. She doesn't tell her best friend. She doesn't tell her new popular friends to try to be cool. Like, she never, they easily could have taken it there of, like, she outs him in some sort of situation in order to elevate her own status. Like, that would be a total Lady Bird move. But that was, like, the one moment when she really proved herself to be, like, not a shitty person.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've been, like, racking my brain for the last minute while you talk, trying to think of any other redeeming, like, moments for her. I'm like, not really, besides, like, the very end, which is hardly even, like, as redeeming as, like, the scene you just talked about. Like, she just, like, wised up.
Oh, what, when she decides to not go to prom? When she goes to visit Beanie instead of going to prom?
No,
with
I'm
Kyle?
talking, like, the very last scene when she finally apologizes to her mom.
Oh, when she calls her
her
mom. Greta Gerwig paired the scene of, what was his name? Danny. Danny comes to Lady Bird and is like, hey, can you not tell anyone that I'm gay? And she, gives him a hug and is like, of course not, whatever. And that is immediately followed, I believe, by the priest telling Lady Bird's mom,
actually,
like,
maybe.
oh, I'm depressed. They happen within 10 minutes of each other, and that's when he's like, oh, like, will you not tell Lady Bird, which obviously HIPAA, but it's like showing that they have more similarities than they're willing to admit, which I think is, like, very strong filmmaking from Greta
I
Gerwig.
totally agree with you there, like, definitely, and because, I mean, her dad has a line in it, too, where it's like, you both just have such strong personalities, which is definitely, like, super true. Like, again, you don't realize until, like, you get, like, farther away from your parents, it's like, oh, wow, no, I am definitely her child in this way. So, like, when you're living under that roof, like, you're like, we are nothing like each other, like, da-da-da-da-da, like, I couldn't be farther from that, but it's like, no.
I also, like, I want to know more about her whole family dynamic, because it's a lot of, like, Lady Bird versus her mom, like, back and forth, this sort of relationship that they have. I think the dad is such a interesting and intriguing character we don't get enough of, and I think especially the brother and the girlfriend, who we only get little snippets from them. Like, obviously it's implied that he's adopted, because, like, he's not the same race as the parents. So there's, like, and she makes a comment about it once, about how he, like, only got into a good college because he's not white, and, like, he pops off. He's like, fuck off. But, like, we don't know how old they are, really. I'm assuming they're like, out of college. They're, like, what, like, 23,
something
24.
like that.
But, like, the girlfriend talks about how she got kicked out of her parents' house for some reason. Like, I think they're just passing comments there that I'm like, damn, I wish... Because, I mean, obviously, if we had cracked into everything, it would have been a way too long of a movie. But I'm like, give me less of Lady Bird and give me more of, what's the, Shelley? Is Shelley the name of the girlfriend? I'm like, give me the Shelley film,
No, this movie was good because it was a crisp hour and 33 minutes, which I really, really love.
Greta Gerwig's original script was however many pages, which realistically translated to film would have been 6 hours long. Was her, I mean, first drafts of films are always crazy long, but her entire idea for this story was a 6 hour long movie. And the fact that they did condense it to an hour and 30, it was that, you're right, it's the perfect length of film, because too much, I think we would have gotten tired with it. And I did like the fast pacing of it, so I think you can't have a fast paced movie that's 3 hours long. Like, it's just, that's,
I mean,
that's
like, I'm sure there are some movies like that, like, but the closest movie I've found like that is, like, The Handmaiden, and that's not even, like, super fast. But if anyone has, like, a very good, fast-paced 3 hour movie that we should watch.
But even when movies are that long, something wild needs to be happening. There needs to be murder. There needs to be it needs to be sci-fi. It needs to be Lord of the Rings. It needs to be something fucking crazy to retain my attention for that amount of time. It, like, a real, like, human story piece for 3 hours. I'm like, well, now I'm just living my life. Like, I'm just watching people go to the grocery store. Like, and I can just do that for free by
like,
myself.
This was just like Boyhood. That 3 hour long mundane movie, just Boyhood. It was 2 hours and 46 minutes. Fuck that.
Greta Gerwig did say that she, like, her goal with this was to make a coming of age film about a young girl that was sort of the equivalent genre-wise to Boyhood and Moonlight were the two that she said were her Which I'm like, I don't really know if I get that from this movie. You could have just said I was gonna do a coming of age teen film.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I get more like Edge of 17, but way better from this.
Well, I would beg to argue that the objective goals for those two movies were very different. But I do kind of like the Lady Bird to Booksmart pipeline.
Yes, love
where
it.
You get the like, okay, this is going to be a coming of age teen story about a boring, conventionally attractive, heterosexual, white teenage girl who's having all of these like quote unquote, problems like growing up, whatever. Whereas it's like, okay, can we just like take a step away from that? Even a little bit, and then you look at something like Booksmart, which is still, like, not so out of the norm that it's really doing anything daring or crazy, but, like, you have one of them's gay, and, one of them's plus size, and whatever, so I'm like, at least we're kind of inching towards having stories about things that could be more relatable to everyone, you know what I mean? Because I'm just like, she's so, like, what qualities does she have? She's just a fucking blank template of a person.
She's very much, like, sort of going back to what last week's, like, 50 Shades of Grey. Just give her one hobby. Give her one good hobby.
Well, because she, like, does theater, but it's only because...
It's, like, prompted.
Yeah, right.
They're like, oh, you should try theater.
I will say, few movie scenes make me laugh fucking harder than the scene where they're all auditioning for the school play and they're all singing and she's like, everybody say don't, and she's like wearing this like sweater vest dress and just like all the kids who are like not good at singing trying their best, and Lucas Hedges doing the most, putting in 110%.
Singing Into the Woods.
that scene like has me dry heaving because you and I both were constantly surrounded by theater kids. We both did band in high school, and we're constantly surrounded. Like, we know those kids far too well.
Here's the thing: there's one scene in this, not this one particularly.
The IHOP when they're at the fucking IHOP.
It triggers my fight or flight. I don't think I ever went to an IHOP because, like you said, we sort of hovered. We were like on the outer circle. We weren't the theater kids. I want to make that very clear. We were not the theater kids.
We were theater adjacent.
Exactly.
We got to observe it from afar.
Exactly.
We could have leaned into it, but you and I sure as fuck didn't.
We leaned as hard away from it as we could. We just played in like the pit bands. But I'm not sure that I ever went to a Denny's or like it was usually like Friendly's for us or something like that. I feel like I did once. And don't get me wrong, they are as obnoxious as they seem. They're all singing, they're all yelling, they're loud, they've got tons of orders. But the thing that this movie did was have them throwing food
across the booths.
Across the booths. My jaw dropped. I let out a squeak.
An audible guttural scream.
Exactly. Because I've worked in food service. If someone came into my establishment and did that, I would murder someone fully. I would commit homicide.
I'm like, there are just a few things in this movie that I think get so right to just kind of encapsulate the like generic high school experience, because I think a lot of coming of age teen movies or high school teen movies, TV shows, whatever, definitely glamorize certain aspects. Oh, but yeah, so I think a lot of high school movies kind of are unrealistic, and that's why they're kind of hard to watch, because you're like, nobody fucking does that. But this fucking movie, there are just so many points that you're like, goddamn, how'd they get it so right? One, the fucking theater kids, they all sucked. They all could not sing or dance, and they were all obnoxious as hell. That is true. I'm sorry if you're a theater kid out there. Some of you, I'm sure, are really good. But just
be aware of yourself.
Like, that whole theater kid cohort mentality was crazy. Yeah. The part where they just go hang out in a parking lot, too real.
Been there.
When
been
she's
there,
like,
done that.
So we went from one parking lot to a different parking lot to hang out, and I'm like, hell yeah! If you're in high school, that's all you fucking do is you transfer from parking lot to parking lot.
That's all.
Because that's where other people are.
It's just, there's no activities being done. It's just the more people you can amass, that's the activity.
And I did appreciate that the like party scene was very concise There wasn't, like, because I think a lot of the, like, high school party scenes in movies are just so
Huge,
ridiculously, like, glamorized to the point where I'm like, it's just obnoxious to be watching. This one, I think, did a good job of being realistic. Also, I don't want to see a fucking high school party scene for 45 minutes. That's just my preference.
You're just talking about Booksmart.
Yeah, I mean, not just Booksmart, but Booksmart. But the Booksmart thing kind of... The Booksmart definitely
it lends
makes
it
a
movie.
joke of it. Like, is making a whole joke of the whole thing, which I can appreciate. But yeah, I thought this movie did so many things that I was like, damn, they really hit the nail on the head with that one. Because that's like shit that actual teenagers do. Like, basically, if they just had gone to Six Flags, I think that would have really put a nice little cap on this movie. I did a little, I mean, you know, background sort of googly knowledge just because I was curious. So in this movie, Saoirse Ronan's 23. So she's 23 playing a 17-year-old, which I'm honestly not offended by.
No. She does it well.
And it could have been a little worse.
Yes.
You know, they could have, I think they did a good job of, like, they didn't have her wear a ton of makeup or, like, having them be in a Catholic school wearing uniforms was very, like, made them seem younger, because, but, like, at least they weren't 30, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think that could have been worse. As far as I hate old people playing a high schooler, like, genuinely, if I was an actress, I'm like, I don't look like I'm in high school, because I'm not. Like, have you ever seen an actual high schooler? They don't look like Timothee Chalamet. I'm just saying that now. But, so, she's 23, he was 22, I think Lucas Hedges was also 21,
around
22.
That,
so I'm like, you know, at least they didn't cast somebody 27, you know. I guess hats off to that.
It's no, like,
Low
Jacob
bar.
Elordi or whatever in, like, I don't know.
Oh my god, in Euphoria, he's 7.5 feet tall, and he weighs 200 pounds of muscle. And they're like, he's a junior in high school.
He's got, like, 2% body fat.
He has a steroid addiction. No, that's not true. I don't know that about him. But as I was doing my research about, you know, these actors and how old they are, I was just like on Saoirse Ronan's oh my god, I was just about to say 23andMe page. That's not right. IMDb. Saoirse Ronan, 100% Irish. I wish they would just have kept her Irish accent, honestly. They should just keep it in all movies. She should never play an American. Her American accent is great.
She's so good.
Unclockable. But I'm like, I just want to hear that Irish twang in my ear.
I do need to find, because I know she's done Irish films and everything like that where she...
But so my roundabout point that I was trying to... Like, this point is not even a little bit relevant. The only connection here is Saoirse Ronan, but I felt it was too good to not share. So, Saoirse Ronan, young actress, was a child actor, very notable, I don't know. But so, The Lovely Bones was, like, kind of a breakout role, I guess, for her. Or I guess maybe Atonement was. But she's a young actress in The Lovely Bones. The Lovely Bones was a book first. The woman who wrote the book had some, like, personal trauma with sexual assault and stuff, which is why she wrote it. So it was, like, somewhat informed by her real experience. Because Lovely Bones is about a girl who gets raped and murdered, and then she, like, is a ghost and stuff. That's the Lovely Bones essential, a very vague plot. So this woman kind of based that in some of her real experiences. Where did she go to college? Syracuse University, where I am now attending. So a couple of classmates were talking about where they live, like, in relation to the school, and somebody was like, oh, I live by whatever park, Hyde Park. And somebody goes, oh, you know, that's the Lovely Bones Park, right? And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, the place where she gets, like, raped and kidnapped. She based that on the real thing that happened to her when she got raped and kidnapped in fucking Hyde Park. So this person was like, oh, great to know. So there's a real place around here, which is, like, where the Lovely Bones, like, kind of took place or was based in a little bit. So that's my bit of Saoirse Ronan Syracuse local trivia for y'all. Not relevant to Lady Bird, but I thought I'd share because it really knocked my socks off.
Can't wait until you turn Syracuse University into just a campus full of swamp stands.
Oh, I hope. I've been throwing stickers up.
Nice.
Again, super blast. If any of you live in the, if you live in the Syracuse area, hit me up. I'll take you out. I'll buy you a drink. Tell me about your favorite movie, please. I don't have any friends. I just adopted 2 really shy cats to keep me company. So
You should name them. You should name the cats Lady Bird and Danny.
oh my god, fuck. Absolutely not. Do you know though that Lady Bird was a do you know where that nickname comes from?
Isn't it? Oh God, which president's wife?
Yeah, Lyndon B. Johnson's wife was, I don't know her, I don't even know what her real name was, but her Lady Bird Johnson was like her
Love that
nickname title, which I don't know. I
want to know why she chose that. Why Lady Bird?
Yeah, I don't get that sort of like stiffy politician vibe from her character. You know what I mean?
Like maybe I don't know enough about Lady Bird Johnson. I want to know who the kind of woman she was.
But that would be like, my nickname is Flotus. You know? Like... But I also think it's totally like her character to not be original. Like, she didn't come up with that. She just like stole it from someone else. I see that for her.
Yeah, for real. Let me see what I have in my notes here.
So, okay, do you have a favorite line of dialogue in this movie? Because I have so many, but do you have, like, if I were to be, like, off the cuff, your favorite quote from Lady Bird?
Not really. I don't think so. I think probably just, not anything that I haven't already mentioned. I really liked, and it's just because I picked up on it this watch, how she was like, yeah, no, it's normal not to touch a penis. That one really,
I know you and I were both kind of, like, laughing over the part where Laurie Metcalf's character goes, my mother was an abusive alcoholic.
Yeah.
So they're having a fight about, like, laundry, and Lady Bird's like, you were really always perfect. You never, like, forgot to fold your laundry one night. Like, your mom got mad at you every time you did something a little bit wrong, and then the mom goes, my mother was an abusive alcoholic, and then she stormed out, which, like, it's not supposed to be funny, and it's not funny, but just the delivery of it is so good. And I just have this really distinct memory of, I was watching it with my friend Kevin, and he gets up to, like, go get a drink or something, and he's standing by the door, and then he turns around as Laurie Metcalf turns around, and he lip syncs in perfect diction, my mother was an abusive alcoholic, and then he walked out, and it just, like, there are so many scenes in this movie, honestly, though, that I think you could do, like, a really funny, like, if you want to, like, lip sync it to TikTok or something, because, like, definitely the, like, who the fuck is on top their first time, like, just, like, little conversations really like that, I think are so funny. But also the other one that I just, like, really gets me every time was, when she's like, oh, I'll fucking kill your family to Kyle. Yes. She's like, oh, don't snitch on us. And he's like, oh, don't worry, I won't. And she's like, good, because if you did, I'll fucking kill your family. And then he's like, yeah, my dad has cancer. And that's, again, like, it's not funny, but it just fucking killed me.
That was so good, because that is one of those things, like, when you're just so awkward and you're running out of, like, anything cool to say, that you're like, okay, I'll try this.
I think from this movie, a phrase that I have adopted into my everyday speech, or at least I think I say it almost every time we do this podcast, is when Lady Bird has decided to quit theater, and so then she runs into Julie, and Julie's like, why did you quit? Like, why aren't you doing theater? And Lady Bird was like, I'm, like, not into it anymore, like, plus, like, I wasn't even gonna get a good role. And she's like, they cast you as the Tempest. And she's like, that's not even a character. That's just the name of the, like, the Tempest is not a person. And then Julie goes, it's the titular role.
No, for real. That, okay, now that you mention it, that's probably, like, the standout line.
Every time I say, like, that's the titular role, I am referencing Lady Bird. Like, I'm thinking of Beanie. Also, I know we talked about last week Dakota Johnson being the right flavor of nepotism that I like. Beanie is also that flavor of Hollywood inner family nepotism that I can really get behind.
Yeah, it's like, I'll let it slide.
Oh, another really interesting thing that I was reading about was, so in this, the first play they do in the fall of their senior year is, Merrily We Roll Along, right? Is that the name?
I don't know. I was wondering what it was. But I had no idea.
So they do that in this film, and she gets the lead, right? So Beanie, or Julie is her name. She's, like, the lead in this play. In real life, presently, in 2020, I believe, she got cast to be in the film version of Merrily We Roll Along, which is set to film over the course of the next 20 years with a 2040 release date. So it's one of those, like, I think a lot of directors are starting those, like, Boyhood-esque projects right now where they're like, oh, we got the cast together, now we're gonna film, like, you know, once a month for the next 20 years or whatever. I've heard about a couple of those projects. She's gonna be in this 20-long-year project for Merrily We Roll Along, which is what she fucking does in Lady Bird. I just thought that was whack as
Oh
fuck.
my god. Is she playing the same role as she did in the play in Lady Bird?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but that would be, honestly, that would be
Jesus.
iconic.
That's crazy.
But more importantly, she's gonna fucking be Monica Lewinsky in the new season of American Crime Story, which has me quaking.
I cannot wait. I don't know, though. I'm worried. Ryan Murphy is really losing steam.
I thought the last season, I thought the Versace season was great,
Versace
though,
season
so
was
really
good,
hoping.
but that was a couple of years ago now, I feel. I feel like recently he's started putting out shit. Hollywood was like the last thing that I really liked, but like this morning I watched
That was only like a year or two ago, though, right? That's
like
recent enough for me to still have faith.
But I've been watching, like, what did he do the prom? Wasn't that him?
Yeah.
And this morning
You gotta pay the bills, I guess.
But
I'm sure he has like 9 houses. He's gotta pay those bills.
like, as long as Sarah Paulson is in it, it's gonna be good, I think. But this morning I watched that new series, American Horror Stories, or whatever.
Oh.
And it's awful. So bad. Like, ugh, I don't know what they were going for. This is really weird. Michael Jackson's daughter is in it.
So, I think before we jump into our regularly segmented questions that we answer, I just want to, like, the big realization I had at the end of this movie is, this is how I would change it, right? I said earlier the way I would change it is that I would make Lady Bird gay.
I think I know where you're going.
I take it back. I don't think you know where I'm going with this. I don't think you know even a little bit.
It's not give Lady Bird a gun.
No, I think that should happen. Well, so my first note is give Lady Bird a gun, but then it got me thinking.
Oh God.
I started thinking about the presence of 9/11 in this movie.
Uh-huh.
This movie takes place in 2002, and there's always little background comments about 9/11, especially she's going to school in New York. And the movie ends in an airport. Mm-hmm. Right? The final scene is Lady Bird's mom drops her off at the airport, or I guess the scene before the final scene. At the end, she drops her off at the airport. I think we backtrack this movie a year. It's 2001.
No.
Where is Lady Bird from? Not California, but New Jersey.
Oh, you motherfucker.
She is from New Jersey, and she dreams of going to school in California. We flipped the script. We flipped the coasts a little bit, right? Uh-huh. So she is from New Jersey. Her mom drops her off at the airport. She gets on the airplane. What plane is it? It's the plane that crashes into the Twin Towers. She's on the 9/11 plane. I think that would have been the whirlwind ending of a movie that would have shot this film to Oscar winning status. I think if Lady Bird died in 9/11,
this is literally just like that one Robert Pattinson movie, Remember Me, where like it's a mundane movie the entire time, I think, and then it pans out and he's in the top floor of the fucking Twin Towers.
Yeah, I guess it has been done before, but the whole time, this movie just had me thinking about 9/11 for the whole thing. And I was like, yeah, they should or honestly, my alternate ending was that don't change anything, but as Lady Bird's mom, so she drops her off, and then she drives around the, like, circle, as you do in an airport. Like, you're not supposed to park, you have to just keep driving. And so then she goes, but she's, like, crying, and she's realizing, and she stops, and she tries to run back in to say goodbye, but she's too late, right? I think she runs into the airport. She immediately gets gunned down by TSA. It's post 9/11 America. You gotta be careful in an airport. It's 2002. It's 2003, bitch. You can't run. You can't run in an airport. You're gonna get shot.
You are on a different level with these ideas, but I like what you're laying out.
I just think if Greta Gerwig wants to hire me as an intern, I think I could add a little bit of spice, like in Little Women. Give Joe March a gun. I just give one character in every Greta Gerwig movie a gun. No, I would have given it to fucking Florence Pugh. I
give it to Amy.
That bitch a gun.
Amy needs a gun.
She would have fucked some shit up.
Laurie would have been dead in a minute. When he asked her not to marry that other guy, he'd be dead.
She doesn't just frown. She, like, frowns, but she, like, slowly reaches into her petticoat.
Which is literally exactly what she did in Midsummer, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just frown
I
and
think
kill the man
every
that you're
movie,
with.
right? In every movie Florence Pugh is in, she should kill the male lead. Like, no matter what the scenario is, I want Florence Pugh to have his life in her hands and for her to just crush it. She should have killed Laurie in Little Women. She should, I don't even know what she's got coming up. That one with Harry Styles, she should kill him.
I feel like I feel like she might.
I would love
it's like a psychological thriller, I think, or some shit like that. So we'll see.
But anyways, that's my 9/11 idea. Take with it what you will.
Yeah, no. Definitely better than the scene where Laurie Metcalf is just driving around crying. Although I will give that scene a lot of credit because that one tugs at my heartstrings and does manage to make me cry when I watch.
Yeah, I think she's a really great actress. She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
Who did she lose to?
Saoirse Ronan was nominated for Best Actress, but she lost, I believe, to Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Frances McDormand, which I guess that makes sense. Honestly, all the Oscars this movie lost to, I kind of get it. Except I wasn't a huge Shape of Water fan. This was the year that Shape of Water won the Best Picture. Did
not love that.
You know, like I get it, but it wasn't my personal cup of tea.
Not my jam.
But I don't. But out of that group of films, Get Out was in there, and that was absolutely number one for me that year. I thought Get Out should have won all of the Oscars, but I think Who did Laurie Metcalf lose to?
I'm trying to think.
Because it didn't win any. So it was nominated for Picture, Saoirse Ronan for Lead Actress, Laurie Metcalf for Supporting Actress, Directing, and Screenplay. It won the Golden Globe for Best Musical/Comedy Picture.
Oh, nice.
So it won the Golden Globe for that, and Saoirse Ronan won Best Actress at the Golden Globes. So it did well at the Golden Globes, but not at the Oscars, which I don't really know what that means. But
who did she lose to?
Who was Best Supporting? Oh, Allison Janney and I, Tonya. I'd pick her for sure.
That makes sense. She was great.
What a tough year, though.
Yeah. Definitely better than this year.
So, do we want to do Fuck, Marry, Kill? Because I kept a running list of all the adults in this movie.
I guess, yeah.
So, instead of doing like a top, because all the people in this movie are in high school, and we're not gonna, even though they're 23 in real life,
it doesn't sit right with me.
I wanna, but so for the adults in this movie, I kept the running list so that there's the hot math teacher who has the pregnant wife, which I loved the subtext that, the Julie character was really into the math teacher, and she was like really like disappointed when she found out he has a pregnant wife. She's like, oh, nice to meet you. As like, oh my god, I love that for her. But so there's the hot math teacher. We have both of Lady Bird's parents. I guess I'm gonna count Miguel and Shelley because I think it's implied they're out of college, right? So they've got to be at least in their early 20s. And then there's Jules's stepdad, who she calls like uncle,
I feel
which
like we
I
didn't
also
see
think
him.
is really funny. Yeah, we did. Do you watch The Office?
Oh yeah.
He's the guy who plays like the head of Dunder Mifflin Paper in The Office. Like he works at like the New York City branch. What's his name? And then he gets fired and he starts the company Suck It, which is a vacuum for your kids' toys. He's definitely like a recurring character in The Office. Let me find out his name. I'll include him because I just think I recognized him as an actor. But those are all of the prominent adults. I guess then there's also, if we want to include the depressed priest and then also the nun, but I don't really want to include them. I don't really want to include clergy figures personally.
I guess, okay, well, I would kill Beanie's stepdad then, just because he didn't leave any sort of impression on me whatsoever, so, like, I don't...
He made Lady Bird lunch every day. He packed her bagged lunch every day. I loved that.
'Cause I'm not gonna kill Lady Bird's mom. I love her. Do I want to marry her? No. Maybe...
Kill the hot math teacher.
Yeah, I'll kill the hot math teacher for letting Jules down, not for letting Jules down.
For not fucking a high school student.
No. I don't know. There's like no right one to kill in this. Like usually I feel like there's I don't know.
I guess you could kill someone underage from the whole movie.
Kill Lady Bird.
Yeah, I guess if we're exclusively reserving the rights to fucking marry people who are over 18, you can kill anybody. So yeah, you could kill Lady Bird. I think I'd also kill Lady Bird.
This one, I think I'm gonna marry Shelley because she seems like a good vibe. I like her vibe. I like her style. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much more to elaborate on that. But I'm gonna fuck Lady Bird's mom because I feel like she hasn't had sex in like years. And I just want to do her like a solid. Not...
She's too. I feel like a very recurring pattern for you in these fuck, marry, kill choices is you're like, they seem really tired and sad and like they just haven't had a good lay in a while, and I think they deserve that. You're so selfless.
What can I say? She needs to like take a load off, like, come on. You know how stressed she is from Lady Bird?
I'm gonna marry Miguel and Shelley. I'm gonna be in this.
Oh, that's good.
I am going to. I also kind of want to marry Lady Bird's dad, though. I kind of like him.
He's sweet.
But I guess I'll marry Miguel and Shelley as like a throuple situation. I'll kill Lady Bird. I think I could also see myself.
I could kill Kyle.
I was gonna say I could really see myself killing Kyle. For just, like, saying some out-of-pocket shit. Also, just, like, I just don't think Timothee Chalamet would be that hard to murder.
If I had one interaction with him where he tried to, like, talk down to me, I would be able to kill him, like, in an instant. You know what I mean?
I feel like just, like, one powerful kick to the stomach could end that boy's life.
Are you talking about the character or Timothee Chalamet?
Both. They're interchangeable. Both. Do you think he'll ever, like, get beefy for a role?
I don't know. I feel like you...
Do you think, if they're like, oh, like, you're gonna be Batman, but we need you to be, like, ripped, do you think he could physically do it?
No. Like, I don't know if his metabolism will allow it.
Or if he could do, like a Ryan Gosling in Lovely Bones and, like, just drink Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Like, do you think he could ever get chunky?
I think he could get chunky. I don't know about ripped or not. Yeah.
And then I think I'll fuck the hot math teacher.
Interesting.
Because I guess why not? And then, okay, so what would you eat and drink with this movie?
I'm gonna...
In reality, what did you eat and drink?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I had, actually, that's a lie. I had my favorite LaCroix, which are the limoncello ones.
I love, somebody once said that a LaCroix tastes the way as if somebody said the name of a fruit in the next room.
I love these things. Like, you're so right, but...
My idea for food and drink somewhat stems in my reality. So I had leftovers from my dinner last night, but it was, like, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and, like, it was, like, a full-ass, like, dinner, you know? Like a dinner. And so I had, a little piece of, like, chicken and, like, mashed potatoes, like, a little side salad, like, a little cutie moment thing. And then I was thinking, chicken, lady bird, a female bird. You get a Cornish hen. You eat a personal, or like a rotisserie chicken. You go to the grocery store and you eat a rotisserie chicken with your hands during this movie. Because bird, it's in the title.
I think you could also go and do the leap to, like, Thanksgiving food, because there is Thanksgiving. So you could do, like, one of those pilgrim sandwiches or something like that. You know what I mean?
Ooh, that could be hot. Yeah. Yeah, they don't eat or drink a ton in this movie, so I don't think there's a ton of, like, actual... I think basically the one, like, I think funny scene you could play off of is that they all smoke weed in a parking lot, and then they, like, microwave a bunch of, like, Stouffer's pre-made, meals, basically, which is, like, I don't know, kind of a funny moment. So I guess you could eat, like, stoner food or whatever, or, like, high school, you know, like, whatever you used to fucking eat in high school.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think you should eat a personal bird.
I think you're right about that. I think my thing is... I think if you go the high school route and you do like some sort of like microwave meal, I think the thing to drink with that would be like, what would Lady Bird be drinking in high school or college? I feel like you get like freaking Smirnoff Ices or like Twisted Teas or like a Mike's Hard or some shit like that. If you really don't care about your body.
Drinking like straight liquor. Yeah, we only see her really drinking, like, straight-up liquor, which is not really the vibe. I also think, you could just drink something kind of college-y, like a fucking White Claw or whatever.
But, I mean, if you do the personal bird, what do you do with the personal bird, though?
Oh, like, I love, like, a white wine. Or just, like, if you're going, like, classy, like, I'm eating, like, real dinner-y food, you could just have, like, a nice, I don't know, little something. And then also, I guess, this is like a stretch, but if you're like, am I Lady Bird or am I Lady Bird's mom? So if you're Lady Bird, you have to eat boxed mac and cheese and a White Claw, but if you're Lady Bird's mom, you get to eat like a roast chicken and
I think
White
that's
Claw.
a great way to put it. Yeah, 100%. Ask your friends. You can't decide for yourself. You have to ask your friends, are you Lady Bird or are you Lady Bird's mom?
Yeah, they get to decide for you. But then if they say that you're Kyle, you just have to drink a black coffee. I guess she works at a coffee shop in this. You could integrate that. It's not really a prominent part of the story though. I also there's a good part though where her dad says so her dad has a job interview and it like doesn't really go very well, but she had also just gotten into or, like got waitlisted out of college or whatever, and he goes, I think we should go get a bag of Doritos
and eat them in the car.
Eat them in the car. So I think if you just like a personal bag of Doritos could be related.
I like that. That you have to drink the White Claw with, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And what would you follow this up with? Because I did not think this far ahead.
So the first thing that immediately came into my mind was Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's just another one of those sort of like coming of agey stories where you kind of don't always agree with the main character's sort of decisions or motives or whatever. Like kind of I don't know. I think you could certainly place them in the same genre together if you're trying to ride a similar vibe. I think also this movie has so many really great actors and actresses with great stuff from the past couple of years. You could pick literally any of them. Lucas Hedges, Saoirse Ronan, Timothee Chalamet, just like watch another one of their works. I think especially like we were saying, don't watch Call Me By Your Name after this because it's just not.
You could do a Greta
vibe.
double feature and you could watch Little Women.
Or like Frances Ha or something. That could,
I don't like Frances Ha. There, I said it. I had to say it. That's like because
I haven't even watched it, but I've just read enough about it.
It's just Greta Gerwig plays Lady Bird like in 10 years pretty much, and she's just gotten even more unlikable. I will like there are certain things about the movie I really like, but the character of Frances I despise.
Oh, I would say also, like we said earlier, Booksmart can be another fun one after this. Another Beanie moment. Again, Boy Erased, if you want to just like watch movies that take place in the same universe.
Okay, I think I figured out the movie I would follow this up with. So this movie takes place over the course of senior year, like the full year. It has a pretty unlikable main character, which this one sort of does too, but also in like a likable way, weirdly. I say you watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which takes place over the course of one day.
One day?
It's very
That's great.
entertaining. You kind of like, you love to hate, like you love Ferris, but you hate Ferris. You're probably more like relatable to the Cameron character, you know what I mean? And it's like, because this movie is not a lot happens over the course of a year, but Ferris Bueller.
That is everything happens in a day. That's a great follow-up choice. Also, it's like very an interesting dynamic between like he has all the charisma that she doesn't have. You know, she's sort of this like awkward kind of unlikable character, and he's this very like smooth talking like, you know, I can swindle my way into any situation. I think that's a really great answer. I also think that if you're gonna throw a Lady Bird themed party event thing or whatever, it should be mandated that everyone goes to the Goodwill, and you have to have to find the most 2002 outfit you can at the Goodwill, because there's I think 2 or 3 scenes in this movie where Lady Bird and her mom like go to a Goodwill and like shop around. I love it. I think just like as a group, go to your like local thrift establishment, like cheap, you know, affordable, whatever, and you find the most just like god awful early 2000s wear jeans under a dress kind of energy. And like, because the fashion isn't horrible in this movie, but we get little nods to it of like her prom dress is super extra. It's like bedazzled and ruffles and empire waistline, like just not good. But so yeah, find just like the tackiest early 2000s stuff from the Goodwill, and then you have to wear it while you watch Lady Bird.
That's a great idea.
That'd be pretty fun.
So what would you rate this movie?
I am gonna give this movie a 6 out of 10. I think a lot of people would think I'm being a little too hard on it, especially because I would say it is a movie I enjoy. And I think to a lot of people, like to certain people who I think would enjoy this, I would totally recommend this movie just for sort of that like quippy, funny dialogue. I certainly laughed out loud at multiple times throughout the movie. Henry was across the room on his computer, and he even like throughout most of it was like kind of turning around, like half tuning in. You know, it's hard to not pay attention to it just because it's so like kind of ridiculous and funny. But I will give it a 6 out of 10. It doesn't really do that much for me in the way of like, I don't think it's a particularly captivating story. I think the performances are, you know, good for the most part. But yeah, I wouldn't give this movie anything above a C plus B minus in
Fair enough.
that sort of sense. What about you?
I'm gonna give it a 7. It's definitely like I definitely used to have it at like 10 stars, or not 10, like 5 stars on Letterboxd, and like every time I watch it, like it's progressively kind of like dipped a little farther down.
Did you know that this movie had 100%
Really?
on Rotten Tomatoes for
No,
I
I
think
didn't
like
know
the
that.
first, like it was some sort of like challenge, like it like rivaled like whatever movie was at the top.
Yeah,
or
like
whatever,
Citizen
like,
Kane.
for a hot second. Yeah, I don't know if it was like that serious, but there was some sort of thing on Rotten Tomatoes where it had an 100% audience
Interesting.
score for like a while.
Yeah, I
Because I think the people who like this movie like balls
100%,
deep, like
yeah.
will fight you because they like this movie.
which
so
I
much.
do still like this movie. It's definitely more because I feel like I keep having to be like, I don't relate to Lady Bird. But it definitely, for the mother-daughter relationship, there's definitely a lot of scenes that do pull at my heartstrings and sort of just kind of entangle me in it in that way. And plus, it's so well done, and it's so fast-paced, and the dialogue is pretty solid, like 95% of the time. Yeah, so I'll give it a firm 7.
I think that if this movie was released in 2017, which means it was probably made, a couple years prior or whatever. But I think if this movie was made a couple years after, how many fucking Phoebe Bridgers songs do you think they would have put on the soundtrack to this movie? If this movie came out in 2021, I think Motion Sickness by Phoebe Bridgers would have been playing
100%.
during that scene where she's driving through Sacramento.
I do really like that they didn't even use a whole lot of like current music from like 2002 or anything like that. I mean, the only song that really stuck out to me is the song that they used in those driving scenes, and that was about it. But yeah, Phoebe Bridgers would dominate this. She'd be making fucking bank off of Lady Bird if it was made in like 2021.
Yeah, right. Catch all those high school girls who were like a little too much with her depressing music in the background. Oh, if only the time had been right for you, Phoebe. So I think I'm just gonna leave you all with Henry's final comment, which really resonated with me, which was during the scene where Lady Bird and her friend Jules are at the prom together. And Henry says, maybe they should have just been friends the whole time. And I just think that's true. I think if Lady Bird had just made some better decisions and had just been friends with, if she just was a little nicer to her mom, if she was just friends with Jules a little more, and if she had just not dated a boy who was gay, I think things probably would have been a little bit better for her. So if you see yourself in Lady Bird, take that into consideration, I suppose. And if you see yourself in Lady Bird's mom, well, join the team. Thanks to everybody for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Everything will be in the description below. We appreciate all of you guys liking our content, interacting. Every comment you make totally makes our day. Definitely send us all of your movie suggestions, not just this month, where this month is movie suggested month, but every month going forward, we always take into consideration what you guys want to hear us talk about. So we totally write them all down. So whatever you want, if you really are like, damn, why haven't they covered Paddington 2? I hear you.
We'll certainly get there.